What if you saw America for the very first time? Not through politics, not through cable news, not through Hollywood, but through your own eyes. Imagine flying thousands of miles, walking into a Buc-ee's, seeing your first yellow school bus, or ordering sweet tea, discovering the Waffle House at 2 a.m., and wondering why everyone keeps telling you to have a nice day. That's exactly what's happening right now. As the world experiences the World Cup, the biggest event on earth, millions of people are experiencing America, not the America they were told about, but the America they're actually seeing. Today, we will be discussing what that America is like. And now, we're grabbing the bullhorn. Our guest today is someone whose career has always been about bringing people together through conversation. Whether you know him as a co-host of Full Ride on SiriusXM, the host of Show Pony Live, or a professor helping shape the next generation of broadcasters, Chris Childers has built a career asking thoughtful questions and telling stories that go beyond the scoreboard and beyond the field. In his recent article, Love Thy Neighbor, Actually Do It, Chris writes about traveling with his daughter Morgan to Atlanta for the FIFA World Cup, where a soccer match between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uzbekistan became something much bigger than 90 minutes on a field. Chris, welcome to Grabbing the Bull.
Yeah, hello. Thank you.
Chris, you wrote Love Thy Neighbor, not just the one who lives next door, but the one who lives 7,000 miles away. Was that the lesson you expected to take away from a soccer match, or did it hit you after the experience?
Honestly, I did. I've been around enough of these football matches to know why I'm addicted to it and why I love it. And it's the communal aspect of it. It's the fact that it brings these people together. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We've certainly had our runs of hooligans and crazy things that have happened in the world of soccer in years past. But the World Cup, especially in the United States, I mean, all of these people coming together, the United States, all the locals have been really welcoming and friendly and kind of excited to see all this new these new cultures in their neighborhoods. I've been to Atlanta a couple times now for the World Cup. I went to the Czechia and South Africa game 2 weeks ago by myself, and then I was so fired up to go back that I just literally the day of the game I said to my daughter, let's try to get tickets. We didn't get them, but we still had the greatest time of our lives outside and in the fan festival and hanging out with the people from the Congo. But I kind of did because I know, and you know what? And the reason I'm chasing it so much and the reason I'm going to all these matches is because, quite frankly, I needed it. There's been so much anger and divide and misinformation that is spreading that is causing us to be angry and divided. And there's a lot of profit being made off of angry and division and all of that. And it's very powerful when you're bombarded by messaging, the psychology of social media and television and all, cable news and all these different things. But when you actually get around real people and experience their cultures, and my daughter and I were with several hundred people from the Democratic Republic of the Congo after they won that match. And they were playing this African pop music that's very popular in the Congo at this kind of side stage at the fan festival. And the amount of joy that happened in those moments, the amount of dancing and smiles and hugging and people from different countries just joining and loving, and the people from the Congo teaching us how to dance like them, like they were showing me a couple of moves. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was human. It was real. And I'm so glad I think we needed this World Cup more than ever. Now, did I expect it to the extent that it's happening? Probably not. This is pretty remarkable how the world is coming here and enjoying us, and how we're reminding ourselves how we are not what our politicians project to the world.
Right. So that leads me to my next thought is I know that you have covered all different sports for many years, and I know that the World Cup soccer is always something special. But even before World Cup, what is it about soccer you think that is just grabbing everybody's attention? I mean, there are rabid baseball and football and basketball fans What is it about soccer that you think is catching our imaginations?
You know, it's interesting. It's a game. So I'll give you my background with the sport. And then, because I think I went through this exact thing that a lot of people are going through in 2002. So I have some years on everybody, but there was a World Cup happening in Japan in 2002. And we went through to the final eight. We beat Mexico in the round of 16. We had success. My friend Ian, who lives in Vernon Hills or lived in Vernon Hills, he was a huge soccer fan, and he kind of, and the games were like at 2 a.m. in Japan, and I'm like, yeah, I'll stay up and watch it with you. What the heck? And I was in college, so did that. And the United States was having success, and I started to like this is kind of fun and loved it. And then from then on out, I've been a hardcore. I've seen the United States soccer team play, I don't know, no less than 25 times. The men, the women, probably 15 or so. I've traveled. I have season tickets to Nashville SC, the local MLS team in Nashville, for 5+ years. So for me, and I tell this to everybody that will listen to me, it's my favorite sport. So the more you watch it, the more you're like, you understand it. You understand the ebbs and flows. Like the stoppage time doesn't become confusing.
Mhm.
The offsides rule doesn't become confusing. Things that I see people reacting to, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember being that guy. I remember not understanding, but now I watch it so much. And my wife could tell you in some way, shape, or form through all the streaming services, whether it's Peacock or Paramount or whatever, throughout the year, I have something on TV at all times, whether it's an English game or a German game or a Spanish game. And because of the time zones, there's usually something on always, which is kind of neat. And because of the weather, you usually have something 365 days a year in different parts of the world. So you can get your fix whenever you want it. And it's the most global game that there is. But as I started going to games, I remember one game that was really influential to me was when I love the world. I love different cultures and people. And one day I got to meet the mayor of the capital city of Honduras when he was at the United States Honduras game, and his staff. And he befriended me and gave me his email, and we kind of kept in touch. And it was just kind of a neat, international moment for me. Last club, so they started something called the Club World Cup. And last year was the beginning of that. And it was hosted in the United States. Nashville was a host city. There was a couple of Mexican clubs that were in Nashville, but there was also a club from Saudi Arabia, and there was a club from Tunisia. And the club from Tunisia they were called Esperance de Tunisie, and they brought so many supporters. And these people did not stay quiet the entire game. Their chants, their cheers, their everything, the emotion, their love. And I'm like, this is just the coolest thing. It's literally the coolest thing in the world. So at halftime, I went over there and joined them. And I traded jerseys with him. So I had a Nashville SC jersey on, and the guy, we were in the Nashville stadium. He's like, I'll trade you. That's kind of a soccer thing to do. Fans always usually at the end of games,
like trading pins at the Olympics.
Exactly. Yeah. They'll trade their jerseys. They'll kind of size somebody up that's their size. I've done that many times. So sometimes I get extra, jerseys of something if I like it, or if it's on sale, I'll get another one so I can do it. But it's very communal. And I think that is what's beautiful about it. Now, it can get chippy, as we saw with Ecuador and Mexico the other day, but more times than not, especially if there's not a history with the teams, win or lose, like you saw with Brazil and Mexico after their match the other day, or excuse me, with Brazil and Japan. There was a Japan fan that was just broken down in tears in the crowd. And all these Brazilians came to hug him, and they lifted him over their head, and he was just smiling. And it was honestly truly beautiful.
Somehow I can't see that happening with the Cubs if we lose to St. Louis and I'm crying in the bleachers. I don't think anybody from the Cardinals is going to come and hug me.
Or the White
No, they
Sox.
will not. I can almost promise you that will not happen. Yes.
Right.
They might say other things to you, but they won't hug you. No,
that's true.
Or during the Crosstown Classic. I don't think you'd ever see that.
No.
With Cubs and the Sox. You mentioned unity. You cover college sports. When you hear John Denver and you hear Country Roads, you hear it at tons of college football games. How is that different from hearing that at the World Cup after a USA win?
It's kind of just as cool, but maybe cooler. Because So in Morgantown, West Virginia, they play that song all the time after Mountaineer games. And that is certainly a part of their tradition at West Virginia University. But it's become one of these songs, almost like Seven Nation Army in a weird way, like the old school country version of Seven Nation Army, where everybody just, when you put on that song, you can't help but smile. There's something about John Denver singing about West Virginia that you're just, and everybody knows the words, even if you don't know the words, you probably know the words.
chorus.
You don't even
Yeah.
know that you know the words. And all of a sudden, the whole stadium's in unison. It's cool at a West Virginia game. But see, here's what I'll say. I've been a United States soccer fan for over 20 years. We've never had this kind of juice. I think what we're showing to the world is incredible. The singing of the country roads, the fact that to get into one of our matches was the Seattle game was over $11,000 at game time to sit at the top of the stadium, which is insane. But I think we're proving to the world that this sport, we brought it here, or I should say FIFA brought it here in 1994 for the World Cup. They had to start a domestic league, which was Major League Soccer, to get the World Cup in 94. What we have seen develop since 1994, traditions, a United States soccer club, a supporters group in the American Outlaws and the Insiders that is legitimate, that has tentacles and bases and hundreds of people, thousands all over the country. We have a great branch in Nashville that's having, wonderful watch parties all over the country. They have individual branches. The Major League Soccer League started as a bit of a joke, when the Fire and all that were in its infancy. It was nobody cared. Now you have potentially the best player for Barcelona, not named Lamine Yamal, Robert Lewandowski, coming into play for the Fire. That's a big deal. Lionel Messi, who is currently in his prime form. The guy has not missed a beat. He's leading the World Cup in goals, I think, or at least close to it. And that guy plays in Miami. I mean, this is a league that is bona fide, and people want to come here. They want to retire here. They want to enjoy that life. They want to live in places like South Florida, and they want to live in places like Chicago, especially for Lewandowski, who's a Polish guy. And what better place to, kind of go after your career
Right.
than to go to Chicago. There's an incredible Polish community in Chicago. So I'm sure he'll feel like he's at home and he'll feel welcome. And the Chicago soccer community has been heavily Polish. That's why they put the stadium when they did, which is not a great stadium. And I know they moved away from it back to Soldier Field, but they put it in a heavily Polish community. So this is, God, if they would have had Lewandowski back then, they would have never had a spare seat in the house. Trust me, he's that big of a deal. I have a couple of his jerseys. I'm a big fan of his. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Robert Lewandowski play in the United States of America. But it's grown exponentially. And I think with what we've seen with the scenes and the fans, and it's really, I think, waking people up to. People would always say soccer was the sport of the future in the United States. And they're saying, well, it'll never happen. It'll never happen. It's actually happening, but just in a different way. It's not going to be American football, but it certainly now has its place in this country. I don't think there's any question.
One of the most touching parts of this article is the narrative of your daughter. You tried to get her into sports, baseball, basketball, football. What is it about soccer that intrigued her? Why soccer and why not any other sport that you tried to get her into?
Yeah, it's funny because I think she echoes a lot of what I said because she gets really into it and she knows a lot. And I'm shocked by it. I'm like, how did you have no interest at all in any sport I've ever covered, watched, anything. And all of a sudden she knows all about Lamine Yamal and all these different people. And she loves Erling Holland. And, it's been wild. But I think it's exactly what I said. She is my kid and she has an appreciation for other cultures. That's what she said when we couldn't get tickets to the game. She's like, let's just go be around the people from the world. And I said, let's go. And that's what we did. And we immediately left the hotel room and boy, was it a good decision because it was, God, I'll never forget it. I actually, Shazam, that app you can use to identify
Oh, for
songs.
the music, yeah.
Yeah, I did that I took videos on my phone of the dance party going on that night, and I Shazammed all the songs. So I've gone back and listened to these African pop songs, and I love them. Like they've become a part
Yeah.
of my routine listening, and it puts me in that moment with
So
her. And she was
what kind of pride do you have watching your daughter starting to love something that means so much to you?
a lot.
Yeah.
And so there's two things here that are really interesting. So my daughter's biggest passion in the world is Broadway. Interestingly enough, even though I am a sports guy, my biggest passion in the world is Broadway. I love it. And so she absolutely got that from me. Nowhere else, she got it from me and my mother. And she's done a bunch of shows. She's wonderful. She can sing. She's great, and she loves it. She has no stage fright. She gets up there, she does her thing. It's fantastic. So I was always just really like excited that she was a theater kid. But the fact that like the World Cup, which is my thing, like I always warn everybody, if you're going to watch a US game with me, just know it's going to get a little nuts. Like more so than any other game you'll ever watch with me, than a Bears game, than a Sox game, than a whatever game, Cubs, you name it, doesn't matter. It's going to be different because this is every 4 years and it's a little bigger. Every pass,
Right.
every
So
shot, a little big.
do you think this excitement will carry over and continue post World Cup?
To a certain degree.
Like it
Yeah.
is building momentum.
I think it'll do it the way that 94 did. I mean, you might not, but in a bigger way, in a more substantial way. I don't think, we're ever going to get to a point where soccer is ever anywhere close to as big as American football.
Yeah.
I don't think, but I think right now it's people are saying that it's passing baseball. It's in that world, competing with the NBA's. The game the other night drew more than the Knicks in Spurs, which was a highly watched NBA Finals. So, do I think that it's going to be, next year, 2 years? Are we going to be talking about soccer as much? Is it going to be focused on sports talk radio and Sports Center, as much as some of the others? Probably not. But do I think the awareness, the interest, and the love of the game has been increased during this tournament, especially for those that usually didn't know anything about it? I don't think there's any question. So I think you got to preface it and say, well, it's not going to be American football, but it's certainly going to benefit.
And you mentioned the political aspect. It differs from our political, our congressman, our president. What does this tell you? And especially since it's America's 250th birthday, what does the World Cup tell you about the true American identity?
So I believe what it says about everybody is that, and I've always thought this, people that want power should never have it. And we have a lot of people in power throughout the world that really want it. And I don't know where it comes from. It could come from a parental situation from when they were kids, from being ignored. It could be, there's a lot of different psychological reasons that you could suggest why somebody is drawn to power. With that said, a lot of times, if they're motivated enough and they have the right resources, they'll find a way to get it. And so the people that have power have an agenda. And a lot of times the answer is money. They want money. They want more of it. They want to be rich, powerful, all of those things, while the rest of us are just trying to, love thy neighbor and do best for our kids and take care of, the communities around us. But that's not what drives them. I think a lot of the people that are in power are sociopaths. And they don't really have any remorse or regret when it comes to the impact of other normal everyday people. I think you almost have to be in a certain respect to have that job. So what it tells me is the people that are leaders, they have very powerful weapons of mass destruction right now, meaning social media and misinformation platforms. Cable news is more powerful than ever. I think Facebook and all these things are more powerful than ever. And the fact of the matter is, the more you show anger, fear, it gets clicks, it gets attention, and it's going to make you money. And go watch Iron Man. Go watch Iron Man, and I mean it's no different than the selling of weapons. I mean it's all in the name of money. So to me, what it's shown us is that we're constantly lied to, we're constantly pulled apart. You see it every day with social media and the fighting. But when you actually get real people together, probably the worst thing that ever happened to the politicians is something like the World Cup. Because when you get them together and they say like, oh, wait a second. What we saw on the news was nonsense. You're an actual
Mhm.
person. Oh, it's like amazing how much you can dehumanize somebody when you put labels on them too, like foreigner or alien or, stuff like that. But when you actually get around them and experience their cultures and do their dances and their cheers and eat their food, kind of incredible what that does to change the human spirit and mind.
So that's a great segue into something that Natalie and I were talking about the other day is um, why soccer is becoming so popular. And one of the thoughts I had was, first of all, it's so inexpensive
Yes.
to play the game. All you
Very
need is a
democratic.
ball.
Yep.
You need a ball and a piece of grass, and that's universal. Anybody can play it. And I think also now touching a little bit on the politics, what better way for our Hispanic countries and population to feel that they belong to something
Amen.
more than
Yep.
talking about World Cup and playing the game and wearing Messi's jersey and
yeah. It's been pretty cool. I
Yes.
totally agree with that. I think hell, this has been an incredible moment for the country of Mexico. The country of and they have met the moment. They have done people that have gone there, the Koreans that spent time there, everybody that's been to Mexico City or Guadalajara or Monterrey has just they fawned over it. Said the people have been unbelievably welcoming. The atmospheres have been second to none. The food, they've just been going nuts about the Mexican food, the authentic food. Certainly, there's a lot of excitement for the game against England. All the English people are coming there. They're going to deal with the elevation, which is going to be kind of wild in Mexico City. But it's they've had this incredible platform, and Mexico has been thriving in it, and they have been getting a lot of credit and a lot of attention from the world. And I think that's been incredible to see that. So I'm with you, and everybody's been center stage. It's nobody's a minority right now. We're all together, and I think that's what's beautiful. Yes.
If someone
we're on a level playing field.
Yes, exactly. That's what's great about. That's what's honestly what's drawn me to the sport over time.
It's one big melting pot, and that's what FIFA. That's what I believe they're trying to do. What do you hope Americans to take? What do you hope that we could take away from this and people who are visiting this country when they've seen terrible things on the news? What can they take away from that? And if someone listens to this conversation and reads your article, what's one thing that you hope they actually do tomorrow and when FIFA isn't here?
So the one thing I hope everybody does is start critically thinking every time they're exposed to any sort of information. When you watch cable news, let's say you watch MSNBC or Fox or CNN or whatever it is, make sure, when you're watching it, think to yourself, am I being fed information that I need, or am I getting fed propaganda that's making me making me feel a certain way? Maybe it's confirming my views on a certain thing, whatever it is. Am I being mentally manipulated for money? Be wary of that. When you're on social media and you see a news story, double check it. It's very simple to go on Google and see if something is right before you actually, because it has the ability to impact the way you see the world. So understand that the algorithm is essentially designed to create your own specific reality, but it's not the reality of the world. And if you can approach your life with an awareness of that, I think we'd be in a much better place.
Chris, thank you for joining us and for reminding us that the best sports stories rarely come from the actual sport. Sometimes they're about people, places, joy, curiosity, and learning how we interact with each other and how to love thy neighbor. And that's maybe the lesson that we learn the next 250 years. Sometimes all it takes is one interaction or one soccer match in
Hmm.
Atlanta to remind us that we're all more connected
Right.
than we think.
Could change everyone's attitudes.
And shout out to these wonderful people that I met a couple weeks ago it was a South African father and his two boys. One was 14, one was 9. And they made me cry when they sang their national anthem at the beginning of the game with so much pride. It's just the coolest. It really is. So pleasure to talk about it.
Chris Childers, thank you for being here on Grabbing the Bullhorn, and we hope to see you in future episodes.
Not a problem. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris noted that we needed this World Cup more now than ever. Do you agree, and why?
I think it shows that there is more good in us than not. Some people may disagree with that, but I think on the whole, we're good people. And it would be nice if we'd be able to carry those feelings out of the stadium. But unfortunately, with what's going on with a lot of people that have a lot of hate, it may be difficult. But there's always a chance.
As a result of the World Cup games, do you feel more proud to be an American?
Well, first of all, I'm always proud to be an American. Um, does this make me more proud? It doesn't make me more proud. It just confirms what I feel and what I know.
And I think there's almost an aspect of the World Cup being here and showing off how we really are on
Yes.
day-to-day basis, not just what you see in the news, but the hospitality that we're showing, the togetherness, the melting pot aspect. I think that's what's
Let me say what we're seeing on the news is, yes, it happens. Yes, we all know there's crime, there's poverty. Am I naive to think that there's a lot better that we have to offer than what is shown on the news? Yeah, I'll give you an example. One of the nightly news broadcasts closes every broadcast with what's good in America or something to that effect. And like I said, I may be naive, but I think there's more of that in America than the really unfortunate things that are going on right now.
How can we carry this pride in American in and being an American into other aspects of our life after the World Cup? And how can we continue this togetherness after the World Cup?
I'm the cup is half full person. And it's so much easier to be nice to someone than to not be nice. You've got to really think about how, I'm going to fight with this person. I'm going to, verbally spar with this person. It's just so much nicer. Hi, how are you? Have a nice day. Good to see you. Thank you.
It takes zero effort to be
Zero effort to be kind, and a lot of effort to be mean.
Antithetical themes pervade the headlines. On one hand, we're deporting immigrants. The sentiment is we're so different at the World Cup. How do we reconcile these two different attitudes among segments of our society?
Well, again, what we're seeing on the news is not what we are. We're not eating the cats and dogs. We're not all gang members. Everybody walking down the street is not a gang member. On the whole, all Americans are good, hardworking people. And, you know, you can call me naive, but I just think there's more good in us than not.
I think that's what we should take away from this World Cup. And I think that's what we should carry into the next 250
Yeah,
years.
look how much fun we're having when we're all together and being nice.
And when we're learning something about each other, when we're learning about different cultures, we're having fun.
Well, that's the key to it. You have to be open to learn about things you aren't comfortable with, things that you don't know about.
And that's what we have to carry into the next 250 years. Kindness, openness to learn, and that's the only way we can move forward.
We want to hear from you. If someone from another country visited your hometown, where would you take them first? And what is one uniquely American experience every visitor should have? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, leave us a review, share this episode with someone who loves sports, history, travel, or simply seeing America through a different lens. Because sometimes the best way to understand your own country is to see it through someone else's eyes. Until next time, keep grabbing the bullhorn.